If you guys follow the channel and know me, this is my MR2 SW20 GT, and it's got a slight issue, slight clutch slip. By slight, I mean it barely drives up a hill. The car, as you can feel, it will just rev up, but not give any traction. Could be water inside the clutch, however, from the clips on Cop Hill, if I've got them, I'll insert them. It's definitely due to me absolutely railing the car. So it's due for a clutch in the car. So in today's episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how to install a clutch into an MR2 SW20. It's going to be a long video. It's going to be very in-depth. Let's get our tools ready. Our makeshift pit that we've got and an engine hoist, because yes, you have to move the engine down or just take the whole engine out to do this job. So before even starting this, if you don't have a ramp, you're definitely going to need an engine hoist. How we are doing this job, Lex is going to have to take the front bumper off. Might be wondering why. Because we are going to angle the car like this, but also Lex, while I'm doing most of the work to get the exhaust off, engine lid, etc., Lex is going to be doing something for me. She's going to take all the plates off and also sort a couple of things that we've got going on with our radiator. Going to replace radiator mounts and just maximise the job as we're going along. Lex, are you going to film that on your channel?
Yeah, it depends how frustrated I get with it, not gonna lie.
But my main job is going to be getting the exhaust off, because that's one of the first jobs when doing a clutch job. We're also going to take the engine lid off and these two side pieces on either side. Disconnect a bunch of hoses. We're going to have to disconnect the cross beam just there. We're also going to have to take the rear wheels off and the front wheels off as well. So it's going to be fun. In a moment, I'll run through the parts before we get into the job, because there's no point in you guys starting the job without knowing what you'll need. So before starting the job, you have to make sure you have, of course, first the clutch. For me, I have a reverse light sensor because mine is broken on the car. A very important thing to change while in here is a rear main seal and changing your oil at the same time. Then you have gearbox oil as well. To mention, the clutch release bearing is inside here, and I'd also do your main bearing that holds everything together. However, I don't need one as this clutch is only going to be in for a year. If you don't do your rear main seal, you'll end up having to do it in a couple of years anyway, and I would only ever buy an OEM for your oils. So for the MR2, you're going to be specifically using this oil here. And if you want the reverse light sensor, that's that one there. So before doing anything else, I'm going to take these side panels off and the cross beam, and then I'm going to get Lex to help me remove this engine lid. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to clip our gritty zip ties off. We might be able to pop the clip off, but we'll see. So now I'm taking off my Mishimoto clamp to get the air filter out, because we're going to need access later on, which unfortunately I have to just slowly ratchet off. Now the air filter's removed, I'm going to go underneath the car and take the exhaust off, but later on we're going to have to come back up here to disconnect down there the gear shifter linkage.
Check this out.
Yeah. You're in it. Right. And then put that bolt back into the top of this. I'll take this off. Next to undo is the bolts on the exhaust hanger, which are just up there on the other side, and then these two in the center. With the center bolts removed, I can then get out the gasket in a moment, and now there are just pins holding each side in. For you guys it might be different on what bolts. I have an old style bolt and a new style bolt, most likely 17s, but could be 15s, 12s, etc. So then all I'm going to do, and I wouldn't recommend this, but I've done this so many times, I find it the easiest way is I'm going to get underneath with both my legs on them. I'm going to lift the exhaust with my knees, and then I'm going to pull the right hand pin out like that, then the left hand pin out. And I'm only doing this because I'm on the floor and this is difficult to get the angle. Now this one's a little tricky on this side. There you go. And then I can just lower it. I would recommend using a jack instead, but this is a method I know. That essentially gives us access to the engine mount bolts and for us to take the wheels and the subframe off, because I believe you have to do that for this. So now with the engine lid off, the exhaust off, before we get the engine hoist going, like I said before, there is gear shift linkage that we need to get off. So just down there, you can see there's a little cotter pin, and then there's another one underneath. One of them is for the slave, and one of them is for the actual clutch itself, in terms of pulling into certain gears. Lex, do you mind shifting just to show an example? So I'm just going to get Lex to go inside the car, shift some gears so you can see what it looks like.
Do you want me to put my foot on the clutch, or do you want me to
Just change, just should be fine. So as you can see, one of them is engaging the clutch and the other one is positioning. So I'm going to take those cotter pins out, put it into neutral. I'm going to do this from below, however you can do it from above as well. What I am going to do as a visual point of reference is mark up which one goes where. So on the top bracket here, I'm going to do some pink marker, and then on the top of the connector as well, just so that we know which one goes back where, because sometimes it can be a little confusing later on. So it's hard to see, but there's faint pink on there. And then I'm just going to go around to the back here and Sharpie some pink onto the boot and onto the metal itself. I'm just going to go back onto here and make sure I've got a nice amount of pink on there. So then essentially, it's hard to see, but I can see the Sharpie marks on there, the Sharpie marks on the back, so I can tell which one goes back where, just because it can get a bit confusing. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and very carefully take this pin out, which should just need bending round and wiggling. So there you go, first pin's out, and then I should just be able to slide it off, and the other side I'll do from underneath. So just underneath the car, this pin, and I should just be able to wiggle it out. If not, just use a screwdriver to just notch it across. So the pin's just come off, and now I can pull it away, and then I'm gonna have to knock the other one up from the other side, and then we can raise the car and start to disconnect some of this gearbox. Now, as you can see, both of those are disconnected. Now we're gonna have to wait for the front bumper to come off, because if you can see, both of those cords are still being held onto the gearbox by a bracket that I have to get to from underneath the car, and it is really tricky space at the moment, so I am going to leave that just a moment and then start working on some of the engine mounts before we tie the engine up and get it lifted. Lex did a great job. We got so far. We're going to come back to the front. We're going to have to try and turn these bricks sideways, put the wheels back on, and then hopefully we're able to get in, really. But I don't know. Hopefully we just get a good enough angle that we can just get in under the car and start the clutch properly. So after our fail of taking the bumper off, we found that because we've done this like pit system, we should be able to get enough clearance because we've raised the car. We've definitely safely jammed with 3 bricks, and we've managed to raise the back up, which in turn, after we finish what we're doing underneath here, we're just gonna have to go back at it again anyway. So we're gonna have to re-lower the car, hook the engine up, and then re-raise the car, but the wheels are gonna have to come off. So the wheels are probably the next step, because we may or may not have a slow puncher on the Accord, so we'll just go switch the wheels. So it's just these 2 bolts here that I'm going to impact off, and then I need to figure out how to get this little unit off, which I think is just a little slide pin thing. Just by using a hammer, I've knocked this securing pin out with a screwdriver, and that will let me disconnect this linkage and just push it out of the top, but I'll do that from the upper side because it's easier, and then just impacting these off. So now that the brackets are through, I'm just going to put the bolts back onto and pull this gear linkage out the way. As you can see here, I'm just trying to wiggle it out the way. It's very tight. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the hardware back in like I've been doing the whole time, just to make sure everything gets put back on correctly when we're finished, and only the things that I can't put back on I'm just leaving in here. It's easier to take the bracket off than it is to take this pin off. That's why I've done it on this side. And I'm just going to tuck that up the top because we don't need it. And the second bracket I should be able to now just wiggle out. Yep. And then again, I'm just going to pull it through up the top here. And I can just leave that dangling past this heat shield out the way. So then now we have enough room to access the engine mounts, and we're not going to be snagging with that as we go into the car. So some people will say to disconnect the starter, disconnect anything electrical to the transmission. However, we're going to do this a bit different just because the style we're doing is the engine hoist. What we're going to do is we're going to take off the wheels on both sides. We're going to take off the axles so they're out of the differential and transmission. And then we're going to go from there and work step by step. And then if we need to take any of these off, we will. If not, we're going to try and minimize, take as much off as possible, angle it in the best way possible instead, essentially causing us less work. But you'll see in the video if that works or not. I also forgot to mention at the start of the video that there is an important tool you'll have to use, or well, unless you want to try it with zip ties, which is a clutch alignment tool. Our kit here didn't come with one, so we bought one just on Amazon, super cheap. It's a piece of plastic. It's not the end of the world.
It's the most expensive piece of plastic.
It's 3D printed for like 20p and we paid like 16 quid for it. But you'll need one of those as well. So we're gonna get the wheel off and show you that process now.
Saw like an angel to the fire in a dream. Hide your face from the sunrise as the masses on scene. In the heat of the battle, they won't see your face. In the kingdom, this is your race. Not here coming. If the team better run, for the anger that drives you burns bright like the sun. We're born, we live, and then we die. Never question how or when or why. We're born, we live, and then we die. Never question how or when or why. When it comes right down to it, some are born to lead. We're born, we live, and then we die. Some are born to bleed.
So now, as you would have seen with the caliper away on both sides, we are now from underneath going to dismount this bolt, which is a 17mm, which will allow us to swing the bracket down and then pull the drive shaft out without having to take any of this top layer of suspension off. Again, a shortcut that makes things so much easier. First of all, I'm going to use a 17mm. I'm going to take these two bolts off on each side, and then I'm going to use the 19mm to take off just behind this bracket, this arm here, and then we should be able to disconnect the drive shafts. I'm just going to use our trusty pry bar to just push these out the way. I use a crowbar, pry bar, doesn't really make too much of a difference. And then we should be able to wiggle these out. They are a bit of a pain to get back in, but we want to do this so we don't have to change any of our tracking or anything like that later on. So these will come out. It's hard to show on camera, but this should come out quite nicely with hopefully minimal crust coming out, but I can see a lot of rust already, so it's fun. So because I can't get the right angle to get these out, we're going to move on to these next bolts and then come back here. should just be able to get the impact on. Or not nice and tight, but oh, that doesn't look great. All that crust just coming off the bolt. It looks like someone's undersealed over the bolt, and they've been in here before because one of the sides is a 22 and one of them's a 19. So unless that's normal, I don't know. Tell me in the comments below if you have any idea about that. So there is some slight difficulties. Whoever's been in here before has absolutely ruined this bolt. It is just spinning, and the other side is as tight as anything. So we're going to try a different way instead. So because of the genius that did that before, we're going to take these bolts off instead. We're going to take this off here instead of underneath because we can't get that out. We're going to take this off and then hopefully lower down instead, and then pull the drive shaft out this way, and then hopefully that gives us enough room to get to the transmission, but I'm not too sure.
With the banner above you and the cliffs down below, there's an ocean between us and a journey to go. All the crowd is upon you.
Yeah, we'll go. So we've been able to get this rod off and our unit entirely loose without having to take that rounded bolt off down the bottom. The only problem we're running into is I don't know if we're gonna have enough room to get the drive shaft out because of the tension on this lower joint. We might have to try and get this bolt off, but I don't think I have anything that will take it off. Or we could try and take this bolt out and see if we can get enough of an angle, but I think it is all weighing on this, so we'll let you know what we find out. We might just be able to remove the bolts around this side and then hopefully have enough room to sort of wiggle it out. Again, we'll update you on the progress as we go, but it's all a learning curve. You're learning with me, I'm teaching some things, but you know, we run into issues with rust all the time on these cars, so we just got to go for it. So ignore the rain, but from unbolting this bracket on top of where the CV joint sits, there's about 5 bolts in like a crescent around the edge. I've loosened all of those. We're now going to drain the gearbox fluid, and then we should be able to pull the drive shaft out without having to take off what's damaged on the car. But obviously I will look to replace that in future. It's just going to be a bit of a tricky one, and it's probably going to have to be ground off. What we're going to do is we're going to take this cotter pin out, take the CV joint out and then pull through, and then that should give us most of the access we need, and then we'll start hooking up the engine and then lowering it down. So now we've got to struggle to pull this pin out. So we've removed the sliding pin, then you're going to need a 30mm socket to just sit on the top there.
Spray it with WD first.
The problem,
What?
the socket doesn't sit too deep. So fingers crossed this is okay, but I'm not too sure if it's deep enough. So we'll soon find out if it's deep enough or not. It might just about catch.
Nice. Oh. Had enough of everything today. So this is take 2 of seeing if there's any transmission fluid in here or not. There's another drain plug. If you can get the impact on it.
I might need
Funny
an
angle.
extension.
Actually, can you not go that way? Put the bulk of it this way. And then get the...
No, because
No?
this is in the way. The bolt that we can't get out. I need those loads of different loads of different adapters. We have oil.
She's got... That's transfer, babe.
We have transmission oil. Same thing. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's dark. That's bad.
Is it?
Yeah. Should not look like that colour. It's the
Oh, it smells so bad.
worst smelling.
Oh no.
I don't mind that smell actually.
That's
Is that bad?
disgusting. Yeah, you're minging. It's so gross.
Oh, the drain bolt is kind of stuck in there. There we go.
Well, at least there was trans fluid in there.
I was thinking, like, how was I even changing gear if there was no trans fluid in there? But
No, there's a lot of it in there.
No, that's not.
Is it not?
No. There's a lot. There should have been a lot more in there.
So how do we get the drive shaft off? So I think you need to take the little clip off and actually pull the boot back to be able to get to the correct bolts, because everybody has been saying that they're little Allen key bolts, but Big Larry is magnetic. Shout out to Big Larry because he's doing his job. Yeah, I think the Allen key bolts are behind that drive shaft, but I don't know.
So on this particular model, all we needed to do was get 2 pry bars behind and some brute force, and it came out. So none of those bolts we undid meant anything. On some of the other versions of the MR2, there's torque spit bolts on there, but for this version, nope. So just used a couple of pry bars and got there. Now it's on to the other side, which is being bashed. However, we're not having too much luck so far, so we're going to keep hammering at this side to see if we can get her loose. And when that's done, we can dismount all of our engine mounts and get on with the rest of the job. And the other side, we used one of the bolts, popped it on top, whacked it with a hammer, and then just levered it out again. So that's all sorted. Next job is to remove the engine mounts. However, you can see it's pretty dark, so we're going to come back, we're going to charge the GoPros, we're going to charge all of our lights, our tools, because the impact's out of charge and this thing's about to die, keeps flickering. But good progress for today, could have been better. I think we're going to have to buy a Makita drill so we can drill out some bolts.